We work very hard to get the content just right. So this is very rewarding to see so many of you here still. Right, this is the last one before the drinks. I'm just mentioning that the drinks have been kindly sponsored by JP Morgan and Cobra Beer. Thank you so much to both organizations. We certainly appreciate it. Speaking of sponsors, Taylor Wessing is also, Robert Fenner from Taylor Wessing are also on the next panel, which is the Building Trust and Sustainable Practices in Frontier Technologies, led by, you've met him once already, Philippe Van Caneghem, former Managing Director, Strategic Innovation at Salesforce. Please welcome Philippe and his panel to the stage.
Thank you. Well, how are you all? Full of energy? Everybody happy? Cool. So, let's hit this off. Last stretch, right, of the marathon of trying to inspire you. So, topic of this session: how are organizations transforming through frontier tech, and in which way is trust so central within this? Some inspiring examples coming to you very shortly by these distinguished panel members who will introduce themselves: Robert, Sabine, Daniel.
So, good evening now. It's evening now, I think. I'm Robert Fenner. I'm a partner at Taylor Wessing. I'm a technology lawyer, so I act for lots of investors and technology companies and help them in lots of frontier technologies, including in AI.
Hi, I'm Sabine van der Linden. I run Alchemical Venture, where I build white label innovation acceleration labs for insurance Fortune 500. Been doing that for quite a while. I'm renowned in my industry for building very well-known accelerator here in Europe and United States.
Daniel Dahl-Steinberg. I'm one of the partners of Edenbase, along with Ariane and the amazing Eric, who's been on stage most of the day.
Brilliant. And, well, since it's the hour where energy goes low, you've all been sitting way too much, why don't we all stand up? Does that feel better already? Cool. Shake a little bit. Come on. Only a few minutes left. Well, let's see about that. So, let's vote with our bodies. Don't worry, it's not going to be too extreme. It's just going to be sitting down. Don't worry. So, so the question is: are you wary about trusting AI systems? So I would suggest those that are not wary about trusting AI systems, go and sit down, please. Not wary about trusting AI systems. So vast majority of you are wary about trusting AI systems, correct? And that confirms KPMG, I don't know if they're sponsored, but I keep on mentioning them, global AI study. A large majority of people are wary of trusting AI systems. So why don't we sit down, those that think that AI should not be regulated and will not be regulated. Wow, everybody really wants to stand up today. Brilliant. So same, large majority, well, 70% actually of respondents on that study says that they think AI should be regulated. But then the question becomes, who should regulate? So now there's more people gonna sit down, I think. Do you think that government should regulate? Do you trust government or business to regulate AI systems? Really? Ah, you see? Whoa, oh my God. There's almost nobody standing up. Okay, so from the global study, about 1/3 of people seem to think that government or business should regulate. Now you can stand up again if you trust either national universities, research labs, or defense to regulate AI. Would you stand up? Those that think so? You can re-stand up if you don't. No? Okay, so you want AI to regulate, but you think you don't trust anybody to regulate it. Cool. Cool. We'll have quite some things to discuss here. Thank you for that. So, inspire us. Who wants to start? Ladies first. Sabine.
Sure.
Examples.
Examples of inspiration. So
in the trust in there.
I work in insurance, and frontier technology are very important. And so examples where we see AI being so important is, for example, in sustainability. So think about predict and prevent. We have those major weather catastrophes affecting us all the time. And by leveraging satellite data and combining it with AI, we are able today to prevent and predict the risk that may occur and actually enable people to be protected. Another example is in the underwriting process. So, for example, we work with a lot of now generative AI underwriting platform, and they are able to really identify the niche and provide the data we need to better underwrite the risk at the macro level. So it's really about niche segmentation and really designing an underwriting price, which is really aligned to a segment. The last one might be a little bit more fun. I met 2 weeks ago a wonderful lady called Annette de Graaf. She's the only published photographer that has been published by Apple. And she only takes pictures with her iPhone. And what she showed me 2 weeks ago is how, by taking a picture and putting it through one of the generative AI platform, I can actually create authentic content, which is mine, but still improve it with AI.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sabine. Robert, enlighten.
So I do quite a lot with games companies, video games companies, and AI for games is amazing. So games, the big console games and things which people buy tend to cost a huge amount of money to make. So 60, 70, $80 million more. And AI is now making the cost of producing these games collapse down to much lower levels, because you can now get the AI to do a lot of the work that had to be done by programmers before. And it's going to change the whole way in which gaming can be produced. And that is a remarkable thing for the gaming community and for the publishing industry at large. It's also enabling a lot of creative people to get into it. And in fact, there's quite a number of companies I've seen that are now developing what's called text to game, where you basically write down what you want your game to do, and AI converts that text into a game. And I've seen this happen in various different contexts. Again, remarkably liberating for a lot of people who've got the creative spirit within them. So I think within the gaming community, you're going to see massive changes that are coming through from AI. The same in film too, because there are lots of people within the film industry who are now seeing, of course this is what's led to some of the strikes and all the other things that have happened, but actually it's also enabling, and I'm working with some people at the moment who are talking about producing what would have been a $30, $40 million film for $2 or $3 million, because they simply don't have to go and employ everybody they had to employ before. And this means you're going to have a production of much larger numbers of films, much more readily and at a much lower cost. So that's fascinating. The sort of more threatening side to it is that you may not need so many actors anymore, because you might be able to produce AI-produced people. And there is actually a website which says these people are not real. And you go and look at the website, and the pictures look really weird. They look really real. And they look like real people, but they're not real people. And when you start putting them into films, then maybe you don't need to spend $20 or $30 million per lead actor anymore, and you start just paying for an AI-produced person who people actually get quite fond of. So lots of different things coming from AI, and it's got lots of different implications.
Brilliant. Robert, you know this is music to my ears. Actually, my first startup was a little bit ahead of its time. It was called Real Actor and was trying to do exactly that. We, amongst others, made Mr. Clean from Procter & Gamble as an interactive persona. And people thought that it was really intelligent, and so continued asking questions. We also had Microsoft. Remember that Clippy bullshit stuff? So we had, for Microsoft, a demo where we developed a character for them. They used to have an orca. Remember the penguins, orcas? Anyways, we had a smart orca that you could ask and converse with in real time. And we would develop these things on the fly. This was 2001 that I sold the company. is a little bit ahead of time, and this is exactly where all the gaming technology is so much ahead. So brilliant, brilliant example, thank you. But Daniel, can you give some structure to trust for us? Because we're getting lost in trust here.
Yeah, thank you. It's always interesting to listen to Philippe, because everything I think I do, he did 20 years before me.
Wow.
He's one of the guys that I go for walks with when I see him and just discuss the future, and it's always really interesting. So we're talking about trust and sustainable practices, and we're really early in this technology for its implementation, at least in these powerful forms. So really, it's too early to decide, whether we can trust them or not. But I think if we're going to break trust down into where we need to look at trust, we need to look at it in 3 areas. Firstly, do we trust the technology and those building the technology and those providing the intelligence and knowledge behind those technologies? The second is organizational. How do we create trust within organizations that we can deploy these things? My last job before I became an entrepreneur in the mid-90s, when I was a youngish kid, was stopping one of the biggest banks in the world being shut down by the regulators in the US. And it was interesting that they asked me to do it, because I didn't really understand the bank then, and I didn't understand how they worked. But it was a very interesting thing to do, to try and understand how the processes work. And what I did, I was a very junior employee, so I didn't have any power. I built trust layers with all the people in the bank that could do things for me without their bosses knowing that they were doing them. And I was also trying to work out, for everything that I wanted to do, which of the people would support me at the very senior level, who wouldn't, to try and get it through. And what was really, really interesting is I found out things about the bank that nobody else knew, because people trusted me. I once went into a meeting, and any other business was, we don't know where $800 million is. And in 1995, that was a lot of money. I don't think they ever found it, but I found that out because people trusted I wouldn't just go to their boss and say, we don't know where $800 million was. I went to try and fix the processes to not let it happen again. And the last thing is obviously the thing we're facing at the moment, Eric mentioned. The elections today, there are elections all over the world. And if you look at the voting expectations, it's all about loss of trust in society. We're voting for extremist parties, everyone wants change. And loss of trust in governments, loss of trust in society. And all these things we really need to consider, because the way that we implement these technologies depends on all three of those things. And so we have to really quickly find ways of bringing trust back into all of those.
Wow. Thank you, Daniel. That really sets us up for figuring out in the next level of trust. Let's try to reach some higher spheres, 3 miles high. Earlier, I asked you to stand up. Do you think I can also ask you to fly? Yeah? Believe me. Let's all close our eyes and fly. You know why? They always say the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed. So why don't we fly to the place where the future already is, which is what? San Francisco. So please all close your eyes and fly to San Francisco in a second and see the future together in San Francisco. Here you are, you flew there already, but you can keep your eyes closed if you want. So we're in the in crowd now of those that are working on AGI. And the past year, the talk of the town has been how to move from 10 billion AI compute clusters to 100 billion AI compute clusters to a 1 trillion AI compute cluster. Every 6 months, zeros are added to the boardroom plans. There's a fierce scramble to secure power contracts. For the rest of the decade, every voltage transformer is already taken up. US big business is gearing up to pour literally trillions into long unseen industrial mobilization and show their might. By the end of the decade, US electricity production will have increased in tens of % in order to make this all run. From shale oil fields in Pennsylvania to solar in Nevada, hundreds of millions of GPUs are being run on that energy. The AGI, Artificial General Intelligence race, has begun. We are building machines that can think and reason. By 2025 to 26, we will outpace college grads in intelligence. End of the decade, smarter than you and I, so artificial superintelligence will be real. And of course, along the way, national security forces not seen in over 50 years will be unleashed. And before you know it, the equivalent of the Manhattan Project for AI will start. We're now in this world, so let's see. What is trust in this world? What do we do? How do we navigate? How do we transform in this type of world? Robert?
So that's quite a big question. I do think there are real issues around AI and how it's going to be used and how you can possibly create trust in it. I think that issues around using AI for propaganda, for political think, is a major issue, and I don't think it's been addressed yet. And I think it's a huge social and geopolitical issue, which is probably being used to some extent already in some of the elections that you've got, in some of the situations around the world. And I don't think anything's really being done to stop that or to control it. And issues about, who's setting the parameters for what the AI actually does and the stuff that it comes out with and the news that it sort of pushes out into the media. So I do think there's a big issue with that. Getting down to the sort of granular of it, the European Union has decided it's going to take the lead and has issued a new AI Act, which it's putting into force, which is modelled on the GDPR legislation, which was a number of years ago. It's very similar in terms of its approach. It has very large fines for people if you up to $35 million, for example, for people if you don't, 35 million euros if you don't comply. And it's a bit of a sledgehammer to crack a walnut in the same way as the GDPR has been, by which I mean it's very much around box ticking and making sure you take certain steps and keep certain records, etc. But whether it's actually going to get to the bottom of what the problem is, which is to stop the sort of distortion of truth, which I think we'd be concerned with, is another question. The United Kingdom hasn't decided fully what to do yet, and to what extent it's going to legislate. And I suspect when the Labour government comes in, that they will have their own ideas about that. But I think there are some big issues, and I'm not sure the legislators really know what to do with it, and they're probably trying to guess at what the problems are before they really understand how to address them.
Totally, and the voting with the feet we saw already. Where's the trust in our authorities to regulate this so early? Sabine, what's your 5 cents in how we navigate trust in this complex, fast-changing world?
Well, to follow on what Rob said, it's definitely about understanding that we are going to see more biases and discrimination, which is input, but also hallucination, which means that the data, we are not going really to trust it. We are building a society where trust may not exist anymore, which takes us into responsibility from corporations, from people, purpose as well, alignment, but ethics. And one thing I hear often is ethic of AI. I'm one of those people who don't believe in ethic of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence doesn't have conscience, and so therefore cannot be ethical. Only human can be ethical based on the behavior we are putting out there. And it's why I'm going to go back to my example when I met Annette de Graaf a couple of weeks ago, because I was asking her, can we be authentic when we use generative AI in marketing and content? And what she was explaining to me is all about the values we have within us. And it's why she always recommends that we use pictures which belong to us, or pictures which are available for free. Start with something which exists, which is already ethical, and build upon it. So for me, it's about re-educating ourselves around what purpose, responsibility, and ethics mean.
Thank you so much. Big believer in that. Daniel.
Well, it's a very tough question. I mean, the first thing to say is this is inevitable. These technologies are coming. We can't stop them. So we're going to have to face this. I spent about 5 years as the second representative from the UK advising the European commissioners between around 2007, 2006 and 11. And I also advised the British government too. And what I quickly worked out is there weren't many people there that I would want to hire for my business. And so, you know, trusting them to create regulations on something they don't know about and they're not people that you would want to hire is sort of somewhat foolish. The second thing is corporations are there to make money. You know, we live in a capitalist world. As much as we say, you know, they should be diverse and sustainable, you know, they've got shareholders to please and employees to feed and pay. So it comes back to where do we get our responsibility and where's the ethics? Just before lockdown, I went to an event run by a media company called Tortoise, and they had the chief rabbi of the UK talking about his latest book, which was on ethics. And he did what Philippe did, and he went around the room and he said, where do you get your ethics from? Mm. And actually, the overwhelming number of people said it was from their family. It was a bit surprising, actually, because he went through lots of things, and then everybody said family, and he said, oh, yeah, family. And you get your ethics from your family. So I think we need to work outwards. This is about personal responsibility. We can't just say it's someone else's responsibility to solve it for us. We've got to go family first, community second, or relatives, community, people that we work with. And again, that's why Edenbase is so important to me, and this event is so important to me. This is about getting people that I want to have around me, that want to be interested in this, that I meet, that my friends meet, to bring us all in here for us to solve this. We can't let other people solve it for us. And the more people that do this, the more chance that we're going to create something that we all want. And so it's back to that. It's your responsibility. It's not anyone else's. And you need to do what you need to do to make the future the best future it can be for those people that you know and represent.
Yay. Well, those are the wise words that we wanted to end on, except if Eric still wants to intervene or kick us off the stage.
Thank you for inviting me. Please stay there, by the way. And that's why Daniel writes the books, not me. That was amazing. So as we draw to a close, there's just two things I wanted to say, which is huge thanks to Northeastern University and their amazing events team for putting this all together. Very much appreciate your support, and you really did us proud. I think there's so much great feedback for this. But there is someone who does so much work to make this all possible, and I'd like to invite him to the stage. Arian Elikani, please. He's another partner of Edenbase. Just stand just here. So Arian is in charge of the fund. Okay, no pressure. That's the job. He finds the LPs to invest in us. He helps us to network internationally, and we would not have gone as far as we've got without his amazing support. So thank you so much, Arian. So I wanted to ask you, I know you've been on stage before, if you have an ask for this family of ours, right? What is the ask?
Well, I think the main ask from the fund point of view is that anyone who's got interesting startup ideas or founders that want to pitch their ideas, please connect with me, with Chris Hill, with Ramona. And similarly, anyone who's interested in our fund and investing in the fund, please feel free to contact me directly and be very happy to talk to you.
Thank you. And I've only one more thing to say before we go to the drinks. There are two people that have toiled to make this so amazing. Please welcome the event director, Orestes Nicolaou, and Nikki Dahl-Steinberg to the stage. Come on! Woo! Now, the trouble is you can't be seen here because you missed the light dead spot. So you have to stand over there. So I just wanted to say that when you started to put this event together and curate it, we had no idea after the last one at a very glitzy venue, I just say it was a gorgeous venue, whether it would work in this campus and the content. But the feedback that we've all had is astonishing. So just wanted to say a huge thank you. I just ask myself, if you're doing this kind of thing at your ages, can you imagine what you're going to be doing when you're my age? Right? Incredible. Big round of applause to you. Thank you all. Please join us for a drink downstairs.